All right, here we go. Back to
Okay.
the fox mulder, otherwise known as Spooky. And Mark's, what is my nickname on the team?
Spooky Deuce.
Spooky Deuce. I pitch for the Birds of Prey. Grosse Pointe Rotary. Here we go.
That's the softball team.
Hello?
Mulder, it's me. Where have you been? I've been trying your cell all day.
I was out squatching.
What?
Bigfoot hunting. Had my phone turned off.
You have any luck?
No, that's not really the point. I just had to get away from the madness from the run. It seems this past year all I've done is watch the news and worry that the country's gone insane. I had to get out to nature, and where it's simple and uncomplicated, where it's just you and the elements, and possibly a cryptozoological simian like hairy humanoid with enormous feet.
Well, I think you just like saying squatching. We still out for dinner tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll see you then. Hey, Scully, I ever tell you about the time I found a Sasquatch footprint in the mud?
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Mulder, I heard.
On the banks of the mighty Mogo River from British Columbia, Scully. Scully?
All right, so that's what I've learned not to do, is talk about this around friends and family who are sensitive to the issue, thinks it's a, a marketing campaign. And you certainly don't want to talk about it at your mother's country club, because that doesn't go over so well. But I'm down there so seldom, people ask you what's new, I just can't help myself. So we will pass that. This is my Bigfoot journey. I'm James Lady, man named Lady, otherwise Spooky Deuce, known to the Birds of Prey, and here to let you know the truth is truly stranger than fiction. This is me. My first haircut, I'm about 1 year old. That's my mom. Her name is Gay. I am James Lady, the son of Gay Lady, and I grew up with 3 sisters. So it's no wonder why I ran down to the creek every once in a while to search out a few crawdads and salamanders. There I am on the right-hand side. I'm stuck to the wall, surrounded by my sisters. I couldn't do much for the cat. He didn't survive me. And you see her on the left-hand side. That's my little sister. And you learn early in a crowd of ladies how to get your way, especially at a young age. But I'm civilized now, so don't worry about it. Here are my boyhood heroes: Davy Crockett, Tarzan, Daniel Boone. It's all about action and adventure, and I starved for that as a young man. I really did. My sisters played with other things that I had no interest in. As I got a little older, I took quite an affection to James Bond, to Fox Mulder, as you now know, Clint Eastwood. It's all about the thrills and the mystery. All of that has fascinated me my entire life. And of course, here we go, the Planet of the Apes. Everybody is familiar with the story, and I'm here to tell you the story about a real-life Planet of the Apes scenario here on Earth. Everybody's familiar with this image. It's the famous Patterson Gimlin clip. That is Patty, as she's known, shot by Roger Patterson, and he is survived by Bob Gimlin, who still speaks on the circuit today. Just a couple cowboys out there who rented a camera to go out and try to capture one of these mythological creations. Everybody's seen Patty, but have you seen this one? I doubt it. I truly doubt it. Later on, I'll show you that this is this is a still frame from a video. And if you walked into the woods on a leisurely stroll and saw this, truly, how would you react? Wear your Depends. I would recommend. I'm in my 50s. I'm going to wear my Depends. And I've been in a such situation, which I will tell you about shortly. Good old Sam Clemens reminds us the truth is truly stranger than fiction. It's not, well, there you see, you can read yourself. Truth is not restricted to the obligations of perceived realities, I should say. There I am. There's me as a young boy, still wearing a cowboy hat, still carry a gun every once in a while, and especially when I'm in the woods. The Sasquatch I'm not too afraid of, given what I've known about these people, if you will. But there are other things out there that are far scarier than my quarry. Some of you might know me as a local artist. I'm an angler. You see that picture on the bottom of the screen. It's my favorite image of the brown trout. Second favorite image is on the top left. You may have known me locally from the Grosse Pointe publication, the magazine. If you've ever seen Wes Craven's Scream 4, you will see my my work. This snake there is actually on the back wall. I don't know how well you can see in this room, but it's hanging on the back wall. Wes Craven in the production rented many artists' work, and Wes actually bought that image of the snake. It's called Frog.
Huh.
And you guys probably recognize the fellow on the right. When he pursed his lips to the cigar, I snapped and everything fell into place with the flowers up top and matching the pants. And you see his right foot right here is not even touching the ground if you look closely. It's little God winks along the way. And my life has been full of God winks, and I'm grateful to the one Almighty for these gifts. And just to remind you again, truth is stranger than fiction, because fiction is obliged to stick to possibilities. The truth is certainly not. Everybody's heard of Leif Erikson. It's one of the oldest accounts of and documents of the Skellring, as they call them, the hairy, smelly beasts, giants, if you will, that they encountered in the Northern American territories. Here's Daniel, is that Daniel Boone? I believe it is. He claims to have shot what he called a yahoo down in Kentucky. A wonderful outdoorsman and someone I grew up with, and one of my childhood heroes, as well with, there you go, Davy Crockett, another childhood hero, claims and has actually written a letter to his brother-in-law explaining the experience he had not far from, what is it, Nacogdoches, Texas. And he had an apparition appear before him and disappear before him. He writes this. This is Davy Crockett, a religious man, a very honest man by reputation. And he had an experience with what I believe during my assessments and reckoning of reality and all available evidence that he had an encounter with one of these beings. Of course, Roosevelt, he wrote The Wilderness Hunter. He writes in The Wilderness Hunter, another honest man, by the way. He writes in The Wilderness Hunter an experience meeting a fellow by the name of Bauman. Bauman tells his story about hunting and trapping and having an experience which is like many of which we hear about today. And you don't have to look too far on the internet, on YouTube or whatever, to find personal experience encounters spoken about regarding this subject. The government in 1973 actually confessed to their existence. The Army Corps of Engineers in Washington State put out a field atlas, and there were a couple of articles, and there's one of them, the other was prior. And you even have a quote from Major Fred Shirley, an Army spokesman at the Pentagon, acknowledging the existence of this species in Washington State. They're from the atlas and from a map printed to accompany the atlas, an addendum, if you will. There are some government-funded, taxpayers' dollars at work, right? Talking about the subject. So back to Patty. Patty does exist. This is a real creation. Melba Ketchum, Dr. Melba Ketchum, calls him Homo sapiens cognitus, which is essentially blood relative to us. And a fellow by the name of M.K. Davis has done some extensive...
Hello, I'm M.K. Davis. You know, what you're looking probably
extensive work
best,
photographically, and he goes through a series of frame by frame,
famous Patterson Bigfoot
exposing the
I
biology
just
of
recently
this
completed
female. See boobs swinging right there.
20-step process per frame.
So this man has put in a lot. I'm going to go quickly and get into some pithy stuff
And
later on, because the pithy stuff is actually my own findings and recordings of hard audio evidence, as John had promised. So there she is, Patty. That is real. So this one, most people in here, probably everybody, have not seen. Take a look at this. It's not my work. This is clear audio or video of subjects in British Columbia by the fellow named Todd Standing. He's a firefighter, sort of ER or medic type fellow. These are live Sasquatch. Watch quick, near, watch near. See that blade?
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is a real Sasquatch. A fellow by the name of John Bindernagel, who was kind enough to give me a few moments of his time, it was about a 35-minute conversation on the telephone a few years ago. He has since passed, but here's what he has to say. He's a wildlife biologist. Here's what he has to say about the subject.
Segments of Todd Standing's filming of Sasquatches, and I'm firmly convinced that he has filmed Sasquatches and that what he has portrayed in his documentary are indeed very close portraits, in fact, of the Sasquatch face.
And I would say the Sasquatch people. There has been a genome study performed by Dr. Melba Ketchum with over 100 samples of DNA. The mitochondrial DNA, which comes from the mother, was shown to be 100% human. The nuclear DNA, subset of these samples, was found to be unidentifiable. And according to GenBank, where you have billions of reference points on DNA, it's unidentifiable from the father's side. So very interesting. You can look it up. Look up the SasquatchGenomeProject.com or something like that, and you'll be able to take a deep dive into this. Now, this guy ruined my life and nearly cost me my marriage, my engagement, and in the first few seconds of this, you'll understand why.
Okay, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to find Bigfoot in one day.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so I have a couple minutes of that, but I'm not going to share it with you in the interest of time, but I learned out by my own wits and reckoning and others' experience what to look for in the woods, and I went for it. So people sometimes ask, what's the risk? Is there a risk? And the greatest risk of all is social suicide, quite honestly. You are a bunch of healthy people, healthy skeptics, I imagine, and for someone to go on about this subject so as enthusiastically as I am, you might think I'm a bit nuts. I wouldn't blame you. I don't blame you whatsoever. Anybody recognize the gentleman on the right?
You.
That's Rob O'Neill. He pulled the trigger that put a bullet through Osama bin Laden's head.
Oh.
He didn't really appreciate my attempts to share my gift with him as he had shared his gift with the rest of the world.
Oh, wow.
So, social suicide, it's a real thing. It happens. He's all right. He was not very kind about it. So anyway, I went, one day I just on a whim decided to be like that cool guy, Nathan Rio, who you saw earlier, who taught me how to find Sasquatch in one day. So I went out and started a YouTube channel, Michigan Sasquatch. You can see Karen later down the bottom right. Karen and Ed are my sister and brother-in-law. So 40% of my audience at that time were family. And so here we go. To this day, I did this presentation I created about a year ago, about 18 months ago. And I had 575 subscribers. If you check now on Michigan Aboriginal Project, I have over 2,000 subscribers. And you'll learn why in the course of this time. So this is something I'm not going to play through and through because it's 3 minutes recording of an actual sounds within a Sasquatch wallow, which is essentially where they hang out at night. And I've learned how to find that out. So the images you see are structural artifacts they are known to make. And I'll just kind of fast forward through these. There's necks, there's the most complicated structure I've ever found. It's actually one of the first as well.
Forest?
That's right, that's right. Remind me to block that out because I'm taking my end of this over your head, so I don't want everybody to converge on that. If you look at Salt Fork, Ohio, people converge on Salt Fork, Ohio, probably. So this, let's see, okay, so next slide is a map that I made. You're looking at the what I call the Michigan Sasquatch Highway map. The rivers and streams of our earth are their domain. It's their highway system. All the images you see here, save for the one on the bottom left and those in the middle, the photographs anyway, are those that I have taken. If you look, I can't do it. There are images here from Southfield, Michigan, believe it or not.
Really?
Ann Arbor, Michigan, believe it or not. And up north at my favorite valley, and also at Mayberry State Park. Something I put together to explain essentially how a species like this can exist, and they're completely under our radar.
Wow.
They move up and down areas where we just don't go, other than to fish or recreate, and they're masters at concealing themselves. This is an interesting audio I won't go through right now. I'm going to move on to some material that I have put together for a documentary that I'm currently working on. This is a still shot from a video that I captured after an encounter. It was a very benign encounter. I was brushing my teeth, spitting off, and I raising my head, and I was staring at two eyes, huge eyes, far apart. And what do you do at that point other than stay put?
So they're curious about you, Jay?
They're highly curious. They are highly, highly curious. Not about me, about all of us. They are fascinated. They have been known to come up to windows, peek in, slap houses. I've been in a cabin, a haunted cabin, where it was slapped once on the side. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I know now, after all the research that I've done. So, a little quote from Henry David Thoreau. This has sort of been the essence of my desire to be in the woods, because I truly do, I wish to live a simple life, be in the woods, to connect with the energies of the earth. It's a wonderful thing, and having grown up with three sisters, you kind of understand where I'm coming from. This is something I toyed with. Someday there will be a book involved. I've had a producer from the Travel Channel reach out and inquire about licensing some of my work. That petered out, quite honestly, because I don't know after what I would have to share. I don't know what he'd have to pursue any longer. And just a reminder again of Sam Clements' quote, "Truth is stranger than fiction, no doubt about it." And I found this. So last year, before the COVID came down, I did a little presentation on 2/22 at 2 p.m. at Lou's Pet Shop, and it was a smashing event. People were wrapped around the aisles. People were on the outside looking in. People had a hard time finding parking. It was great. But I just want to share my little journey. I think it's a gift from God, and to share it with little kids in front who are just completely in awe about the audio that I had to show them, the story I had to tell them was a real treat. So, that having been said, we're going to go to the material, the fodder of which I have. I'm putting together a documentary. And here we go. I'm going to express a little my artistic inclinations here and get to the bottom of why I do what I do. I do it for fun. I do it for spiritual nourishment. But you be the judge after seeing this. Right in this area after I zoom in. Better than here. Keep it on there.
I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived.
So, all right, what you're about to see is original footage, that 6-second clip that I got after I had an encounter with the other. I told you I was spitting my toothpaste, looked up, see these eyes. We were there for the longest time. And I eventually thought, we could do this all night, where I could go, turn and get my gear and do what I actually came to do. So it was the hardest thing to do, to turn away from what you know to be a giant in the woods, to go grab my gear. So I very nonchalantly went and grabbed my flashlight and my video camera, the same one I'm recording with now. And this is what I captured.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
So believe it or not, you've actually seen a Sasquatch and heard one as well. There's a slight cooing at the 4.2 second mark. And what you're seeing there, this is the head, shoulders, huge, massive trapezius muscles in the back. You can see the arm here. The arm actually casts a shadow onto the buttocks with this film. And this is just a very small portion of that original footage that you saw. But, and this is my analysis of it. Here we go.
I need a fucking beta blocker to sleep tonight. Where are you?
Yeah, true story. Here's my daughter. Meet my daughter.
I call in and say that my dad actually hunts Bigfoot.
Your dad hunts Bigfoot?
Oh my god.
Alright, does he spend a lot of time doing this?
It's so funny. He'll take like monthly camping trips to take all of his equipment and go somewhere up north in Michigan. And just stay in the woods and hunt Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Your father is like the future of my boyfriend.
Okay.
This is what he wants to do.
He's spending months away from his family hunting Bigfoot. Now, is his name Larry? Well, hold on. Has Dad found Bigfoot yet?
He claims he has. He has several photographs and always tries to show us like pictures and stuff, but we think they're just shadows.
Yeah. Big handsome, hairy man. Yep. Monthly trips away. Yep. Okay. All right. Hey. Thanks for the call. Good luck. All right.
Seriously, who says Manschwants anymore except radio personalities? Rude, I think, distasteful, but yeah. So my daughter said, but we think they're just shadows. And my daughters and my wife, when she was my fiance, they went through a lot. I did take the deep dive. I was bona fide crazy. I was big into the subject, but I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew. I listened to a little voice, much like my art journey, and I've not had any lessons in arts nor photography. I just went with it. In my life, my story, God saved. God's taken me on some wonderful journeys, and I've been saved by it. I'll say that. So here we go, my daughters. Now we're going to have a little closer, a little scrub of that focused portion of the original footage of that Sasquatch, that subject, the anomaly, if you will, in the background. So here we go. Carry on.
Where are you?
What you're seeing here is the subject panning back and forth. You detect movement. You see the ocular recess, the auricular recess, the massive shoulders. You can detect the buttocks. In the original footage, if you zoom in on it, you can detect the legs. So what does the light reveal to you? When you have movement and light, that tells a story. That's just a little bit of information that I captured on the video. And I didn't know that for 4 months. I didn't think I captured anything because I didn't see anything after I grabbed my flashlight and my camera. I didn't. So I sat there for 4 months until cabin fever settled in, and I had a closer look at that. So this is an interview with Dixie Cryptid. He has over 100,000 followers, and he increased my female viewership from 0 to about 30%, so I'm grateful for that. He starts out the introduction to our interview with some audio that I captured last August 11th in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. And I'll play that, and it's quite honestly terrifying if you truly appreciate the gravity of what has been captured. The first audio you will hear has never been captured. I've heard eyewitness testimony, and I've listened to well over 1,000 eyewitness testimonials. I'll have you listen yourself. The second bit there are 2 audios, the second of which the likeness has not been seen in maybe 50 years. A fellow by the name of Ron Moorhead has, if you look up the Sierra sounds, you will find his work. But here's what I have. And there's some pleasant, very sweet strumming It will follow this and his introduction to me. I'm going to play it all the way through because it's a nice mellowing effect with the riff he offers to accompany this introduction. Weird stuff. Imagine hearing that outside your tent.
So, Jay, I don't have a microphone, so you'll need to repeat this. So those are sounds made by?
These are vocalizations.
So is that the way they communicate with each other? So repeat that so that people there can hear. Is that how they communicate with each other?
He's communicating with at least one. There are subjects in the foreground. I don't know how many, at least a couple.
So that's a language for them?
There is a language, and I will have more on that later in this presentation. You will hear things like Matika Pika and Kapika Swa, Hejilawa. I'm working on a lexicon, if you will. I wish I just had the meanings of these expressions, but you will hear multisyllabic, well-enunciated morpheme streams, which is what I just did to you in your presence. These are sentences. These are speaking creations. These are.
Jay, I hate to do this to you, man. We have pretty much a 7 o'clock cutoff.
Oh, shucks.
Now, wait a minute, just a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if we would want you to come back sometime. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Or I can.
No, just, we do have cutoff.
Okay, right.
Okay, guys, so,
Yeah.
close it out, and then we'll just reschedule for a further whatever.
Okay, and at that time, because later in this
You
presentation.
have more stuff, I know you keep doing stuff.
I actually have those vocal expressions.
That would be fun.
You know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ted.
So we got a taste tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the schedule, the trains must leave on time.
We do, but I'm just saying, we'll be happy to have you back.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm James Lady. If you're curious, look at on YouTube, Michigan Aboriginal Project. You will hear things that are otherworldly, and I can't say they're not. I don't know. I don't know what these creations are.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
Are they mostly active at night?
Mostly when I'm camping, late fall, yeah. I hit about a 60%, I get about a 60% encounter rate where I camp late fall. And I camp alone, you know.
Do you ever hear them during the day?
I have, yes. Well, I solicited once upon a time. People go out and bang on trees and they do their whoops. I'm not big into that because what I'm doing, I don't want to draw attention to myself, right? Except I'm, you know, evenings like this, but I did give a whoop and solicited a couple of what people call wood knocks, which I contend are actually vocals. But it was immediate, it wasn't a response. And later on, I was ushered out of a little valley by a rough creature. it was not vocalizing pleasure with my
Jay, so if you want to, obviously, we'll
Hi, James.
questions after the meeting.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, James, could you stop your screen share for a moment so we can end our meeting? Thank you.